I demanded an open marriage to reconnect with my high school sweetheart. My husband reluctantly agreed, but his brutal revenge left me shaken and aroused as I watched him change from a safe and kind man into an apex predator. The agreement. I never thought I'd be the kind of woman to ask for an open marriage. But then again, I never thought I'd find myself lying awake at night, haunted by the ghost of a love that never quite let me go. His name was Chris. We were reckless teenagers, tangled up in stolen moments and whispered promises. But life pulled us apart. College, distance, the inevitable march of time. I married Jason because he was stable and kind. The kind of man you're supposed to marry. And for years that was enough. Until Chris came back. It was just a Facebook message at first. Then coffee. Then lingering glances, charged silences, the electric pull of unfinished history. I told myself it was harmless nostalgia. But when his hand brushed mine under the table, I knew I was lying. That night I sat Jason down. The words tasted strange in my mouth. I want an open marriage. His face went still. Why? I could have lied. But the truth clawed its way out. Chris is back in town. Jason exhaled sharply like I'd punched him. So this isn't about freedom. It's about him. I lifted my chin. Maybe. But it doesn't change what I need. For a long moment he just stared at me. Then quietly, and if I say no? I hadn't prepared for that. The unspoken threat hung between us. Then I'll do it anyway. Jason's voice was hollow when he finally spoke. Fine. Don't expect me to just sit around and remember some doors once opened can never be closed again. I told myself it was a victory. But as I drove to Chris's apartment that first night, my hands shook on the wheel. Because somewhere deep down I already knew that he was right. His words echoed in my mind. Some doors once opened can never be closed again. The Agreement Part 2. 2 weeks later I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, applying mascara with unsteady hands. The apartment was too quiet. Just the hum of the AC and the occasional rustle of Jason moving around in the bedroom. He was getting ready for a date. I hadn't expected this. Not so soon. Not with whoever she was. I'd spent the last 14 days wrapped up in Chris, in the dizzying rush of rediscovery. His laugh, his hands, the way he still kissed me like he was starving for it. It should have been perfect. But every time I came home, Jason's silence was louder than any argument. And now this. I heard the click of his dress shoes on the hardwood and stepped out of the bathroom. Jason stood by the door adjusting his cufflinks. Dark suit, a crisp button-down, the faintest trace of cologne. He looked good, too good. Who is she? The question slipped out before I could stop it. He didn't look up. Does it matter? Are you doing this to punish me? That made him pause. His eyes flicked to mine, cold and unreadable. You got the freedom you wanted, Rachel. Don't ask for more. The words stung because he was right. I'd been the one to demand this. To rip open our marriage and shove someone else into the cracks. But now, watching him walk out that door, I felt something ugly twist in my chest. Jealousy. I grabbed my phone and texted Chris. Can you come over? He replied instantly, on my way. I told myself it was what I wanted. But as I sat on the couch waiting, all I could think about was Jason's empty spot beside me, and the high school ex who'd be filling it tonight. The Agreement Part 3. Chris arrived with a bottle of wine and that familiar smirk, the one that used to make my stomach flutter. But tonight it felt like a performance, like we were both pretending this was something it wasn't. I forced a smile as he kissed me, his hands already sliding under my shirt. But the moment his lips touched mine, all I could think about was Jason. Where was he right now? Was he laughing with her? Was she touching him the way Chris was touching me? I pulled away. Hey, Chris frowned, his fingers still tracing my hip. You okay? Yeah, just. I gestured vaguely toward the kitchen. Let's open the wine first. I needed air. Space. A distraction. But as I poured 2 glasses, my hands trembled, sloshing red onto the counter. Chris didn't seem to notice. He was already scrolling through his phone, completely at ease in my home. In my marriage. I took a long sip, willing the warmth of the alcohol to dull the sharp edges in my chest. It didn't help. Chris pulled me onto the couch, his mouth hot on my neck. But instead of melting into him like I had every other night, my body went stiff. His touch felt wrong. Too eager. Too entitled. Wait, I breathed, pushing him back. He sighed, annoyed. Rachel, come on. What's the deal? The deal? As if this was some transaction? As if I hadn't just handed him the keys to my life without thinking about the cost. I can't do this tonight, I muttered, standing up. Chris stared at me, incredulous. Seriously? You called me over. I know, My voice cracked. Jason's on a date. The words hung in the air, pathetic and raw. Chris's expression shifted from frustration to something worse. Pity. Oh, he said slowly. So that's what this is about. I turned away, humiliation burning my cheeks. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I was supposed to be happy. Free. Dad, I felt like a fool. Chris stood, grabbing his jacket. Look, maybe we should take a break until you figure your shit out. And just like that, he was gone, leaving me alone in the silence of the apartment, staring at the half-empty wine glasses. I picked up my phone, thumb hovering over Jason's name. But what would I even say? Come home. I messed up. I didn't realize I'd miss you until you were gone. I put the phone down. Somewhere across town, Jason was with someone else. And for the first time since I'd demanded our open marriage, I understood exactly what I'd done. The agreement, part 4. The sun was too bright when I heard the key turn in the lock. I hadn't slept. I'd spent the night curled on the couch, alternating between staring at the ceiling and checking my phone, like somehow Jason would text me details of his night. Like I wanted to torture myself. The door opened and there he was. Still in last night's clothes, his hair slightly disheveled, the faintest shadow of stubble along his jaw. He looked relaxed. My stomach twisted. You're awake, he said, his voice carefully neutral. I sat up, clutching the blanket around me like armor. How was your night? The question tasted bitter. Jason kicked off his shoes, avoiding my gaze. Fine. Fine. A single, devastating word. Was she beautiful? Did she make him laugh? I swallowed hard. Are you seeing her again? He finally looked at me and something in his expression shifted. Does it matter? Yes. The word came out too fast, too desperate. Jason exhaled, running a hand through his hair. Rachel, you don't get to ask that. You don't get to have it both ways. The truth of it hit me like a slap. I'd been so focused on what I wanted. Chris, the past, the thrill of something forbidden, that I hadn't considered the cost. That Jason might actually walk away. That he might find someone who chose him first. I think I made a mistake, I whispered. Jason went still. For a long moment he just stared at me, his eyes searching mine. Then quietly, yeah. I used to think so too. My breath caught. What does that mean? It means I agreed to this because I was afraid of losing you. He shook his head, a bitter laugh escaping. But last night, I didn't think about you once. The air left my lungs. Jason grabbed his keys from the counter. I'm going out. I think we need some space. And just like that he was gone again, leaving me alone with the wreckage of my choices. I picked up my phone, thumb hovering over Chris's name. But I already knew the truth. This was never about him. It was about me. And now I might be too late to fix it. The agreement, part 5. A week passed in a blur of silence and unanswered texts. Jason had barely been home, and when he moved through the apartment like a ghost, distant, untouchable. I told myself I didn't care who he was seeing. But late at night, lying alone in our bed, my mind spun with possibilities. Then on Sunday morning I found out. I was scrolling through Instagram when a tagged photo stopped me cold. There she was. Jason's mystery woman. And I knew her. Lena Carter. Chris's wife. Well, ex-wife apparently. The caption under the brunch photo read, "New beginnings with someone who actually listens." Followed by a red heart emoji. My hands shook as I clicked on her profile. More photos. More smiles. More of Jason looking at her like she hung the damn moon. And then the gut punch. A screenshot of a text exchange with Chris. Lena, you really thought I wouldn't find out you were screwing your high school ex? Chris, it's not like that. Lena, funny. That's exactly what you said about your secretary. I dropped my phone like it had burned me. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't fate. This was vengeance. I stormed into the bedroom where Jason was pulling on a jacket. You're seeing Lena Carter? He didn't even flinch. Yeah. Chris's wife. Ex-wife, he corrected calmly. They've been separated for months. That's not the point. My voice cracked. You knew who she was. Jason finally turned to me, his expression unreadable. Just like you knew who Chris was when you demanded this. The air left my lungs. He grabbed his keys. I'll be back late. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving me standing there staring at the empty space where my marriage used to be. I picked up my phone and dialed Chris's number. He answered on the first ring. Rachel. Did you know? My voice was raw. A beat of silence. Then quietly, yeah. I found out yesterday. I choked out a laugh. So what? Was this your plan all along? Reconnect with me just to... No. He exhaled sharply. Lena and I were done long before this. But Jason? He sought her out, Rachel. This wasn't an accident. The truth settled over me like ice. Jason hadn't just accepted our open marriage. He'd weaponized it. And now the only question left was, did I deserve it? The agreement part 6. I shouldn't have gone. But by 7 p.m. I was parked across the street from Bistro Le Soleil, fingers drumming against the steering wheel, watching the golden glow of the restaurant windows. I told myself I just needed to see them, to confirm the truth with my own eyes. And then I spotted them. Jason and Lena sat at a corner table, her hand resting on his forearm as she laughed at something he said. The way he leaned in, close, intimate, sent a white-hot bolt of pain through my chest. Before I could think, I was crossing the street. The hostess tried to stop me, but I barely heard her. My pulse roared in my ears as I reached their table. Jason looked up first. His expression hardened. Rachel. Lena turned, her dark eyes widening in recognition. She didn't look surprised. He looked amused. Ah, she said, swirling her wine. The wife. The way she said it, so dismissive, like it was a joke, made my hands curl into fist. You two must be having a great time comparing notes. Jason stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. We're leaving. Lena sighed but stood too, grabbing her purse. Honestly, Chris did say you were dramatic. That did it. You don't know anything about me, I snapped. Funny, Lena said coolly, because it feels like I know everything about you. The way you demanded an open marriage. The way you threw away a good man for the loser who cheated on me for years. She stepped closer, her perfume cloying. Don't even dare to act like the victim here. Jason grabbed her arm. Lena. Enough. But I was already backing away, the room tilting. Because she was right. This was my fault. All of it. Jason met my gaze one last time, something unreadable in his eyes. Go home, Rachel. Then they were gone, leaving me standing there in the middle of the restaurant, surrounded by whispers and pitying stares. I stumbled outside, the night air sharp against my burning cheeks. Somewhere in the distance, a car door slammed. An engine roared to life. And just like that, I was alone. Really alone. For the first time, I wondered if this was how Jason had felt the night I'd asked for the one thing that would destroy us. And I finally understood. Some choices can't be undone. The agreement part 7. 2 days passed in suffocating silence. I'd spent them replaying that night at the restaurant, Lena's words carving deeper every time. You threw away a good man for a loser. Now standing in the doorway of our bedroom, I watched Jason straighten his collar in the mirror. Dark jeans. A navy button-down. The same cologne he'd worn the first night he went out with her. My stomach lurched. Please don't see her again, my voice came out brittle. Stay in with me, please. Jason didn't turn around. I told you we need space. Space. A hysterical laugh bubbled up. You've been living in space. You haven't spoken to me in days. Finally, he faced me, his expression unreadable. What do you want me to say, Rachel? Don't go out with her again. The plea tore out of me, raw and desperate. Please. Just stay away from her. For a heartbeat, he just stared at me. Okay. I blinked. Okay. Yeah. He shrugged. I won't see Lena. Relief flooded me, until he grabbed his keys and walked toward the door. Wait. I caught his arm. You just said. I said I wouldn't go out with Lena. Jason's mouth curved, but there was no warmth in it. I wasn't planning to see her tonight anyways. The floor tilted under me. Then, where are you going? He leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. Wouldn't you like to know? And then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. I stood there, frozen, the truth slamming into me like a freight train. This wasn't about Lena anymore. This was about power. And now since we'd opened this Pandora's box, I was the one left uncertain and waiting. The agreement part 8. The phone rang at midnight. I knew it was Chris before I even looked. 3 missed calls in the last hour, each one more frantic than the last. When I finally answered, his voice was a razor blade down my spine. What the FUK, Rachel? I pulled the phone away from my ear, his rage vibrating through the speaker. Chris. Did you know about this? Was this your little revenge plot with your husband? Know about what? I snapped, exhaustion and frustration sharpening my words. Check your goddamn Instagram. I switched to speaker and pulled up the app, then froze. There she was. Mia, Chris's former secretary. The one Lena had accused him of sleeping with. And sitting across from her at a candlelit table, his hand curled around a whiskey glass, was Jason. The caption read, "Turns out karma has a delicious sense of humor. #AskLena #Betterman. Chris was still screaming. Your husband sought out the one woman who could torch my life. Lena's already lawyering up to reopen our divorce settlement. Do you have any idea what this does to me? A cold realization slithered through me. Jason hadn't just been seeing Lena to hurt me. He'd been researching. Chris, I said slowly, did you actually sleep with Mia? The silence on the other end told me everything. I started laughing. It was ugly and unhinged, but I couldn't stop. This isn't funny. Chris snarled. Oh, it's fucking hilarious, I gasped, wiping tears. You blew up my marriage to relive high school, and Jason just napalmed yours in return. The front door clicked open. Jason stood in the doorway, loosening his tie, the ghost of Mia's lipstick on his collar. He took one look at my tear-streaked face, the phone clutched in my hand, and smirked. I hung up on Chris mid-rant. We stared at each other across the living room, the air crackling with something dangerous. You set this up, I whispered. Jason shrugged off his jacket. I told you, some doors shouldn't be opened. For the first time I saw the man I'd married. Really saw him. Not the patient husband who'd let me walk all over him, but the predator who'd finally stopped playing dead. And God help me, I was terrified. And aroused. The phone buzzed again. Chris. I silenced it, never breaking Jason's gaze. Who's next? My voice shook. He stepped closer, trailing a finger down my arm. That depends. On what? On whether you've learned your lesson. The challenge hung between us, thick as smoke. I swallowed hard. Because the game had changed. And I wasn't sure I knew the rules anymore. The agreement, final chapter. 1 year later. The silk blindfold was new. I adjusted it carefully over the eyes of the blonde woman trembling on our bed. Jessica, 28, marketing executive. Making sure the knots were secure but gentle. Jason preferred them this way. No marks. No mess. Just pure, controlled pleasure. Good girl, I murmured in her ear, feeling her shiver. Across the room, Jason loosened his tie, his gaze locked on me. Approval flickered in his eyes. This one meets the standards. Jessica was the 4th. 4 women hand-selected by me in 12 months, each more exquisite than the last. My penance. My offering. The price of Jason's forgiveness after the Chris disaster. I'd learned the rules quickly. 1. No exes of people we knew. His one hard boundary after Lena. 2. No emotional attachments. For him, obviously. 3. I always watch. The last one was his favorite. Rachel. Jason's voice was low, commanding. Come here. I obeyed, settling into the velvet armchair by the fireplace. My throne, my prison, as he approached the bed. Jessica's breath hitched when his fingers traced her collarbone. You picked well, he said, never looking away from me. I crossed my legs, the heat between them unbearable. That was the strangest twist of all, how much I wanted this now. The power of handing him someone else only to reclaim him after. The way he fucked me after, possessive and furious, like he needed to erase every trace of them. Jessica moaned as Jason's mouth found her throat. I leaned forward, nails digging into the chair. This wasn't an open marriage anymore. This was a kingdom. And Jason had made sure I'd never forget. He was the king. Look. The blindfold stays in the nightstand drawer. Jessica's number is deleted by morning. And when Jason drags me into the shower, his hands bruising my hips as he whispers, next one's your turn to choose, against my wet skin. I don't hesitate. Redhead, I gasp. Someone who screams. His laugh is dark as the water swallows us whole. This concludes our story. If you enjoyed this content, please consider hitting the subscribe button, like the video, and leave a comment below.